Well, we are aware how European Union has been so adamant on changing everything to USB-C and keeping a universal connector and port rather than having different kind of ports. Apple is one of the companies who's having immense amount of problems with that because, well, money. Well, there are a lot more reasons to that, but money, according to the world, is the primary concern. Now, we know this is an unending debate and Apple may or may not change until we heard these rumors from Ming-Chi Kuo saying that we might see a USB-C port in iPhone 15, which is the year 2023, a year from now. Isn't this an exciting turn-up of events? So what exactly led to that? Well, let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to the iGeeksBlog show. I'm your host Harshanki, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about when do we get to see a USB-C in iPhones. In this episode we'll be covering when did this start, what is the European Union controversy all about, how was Apple convinced to test their iPhones with USB-C, and would that be a valid addition or not. We would also be discussing how and when was Thunderbolt technology developed and some primary differences between Thunderbolt and USB-C. So stay tuned to the episode because you're going to have a lot of interesting and exciting information out here. And if you want to hear the uncut version, then you can tune into the audio episode because we're streaming across all audio platforms. Coming back to the topic. So both Mark Gurman and Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo have claimed that Apple has been testing iPhone 15 with USB-C instead of a Thunderbolt this time. However, neither of them believe that European Union's demand have been a primary concern for that. Now, if you think about it, ideally, it is saving a lot of waste, right? It is saving a lot of waste because you can have one cable to do a lot of other things apart from having different ports or different cables doing the job. Not just that. If numbers are to be calculated, there was this amazing paper I read the other day which said it can save $293 million if this transition is done. And it just becomes easier for everyone out there to have a single cable rather than having multiple cables serving the purposes. Now we know this is a solid rumor and it might happen in the near future because Ming-Chi Kuo's history has been pretty solid. His track record is on point. Majority of the things that he says has turned out to be true. So this is going to be an exciting turn-up of events right here. With USB-C port in the iPhone, majority of the people would be able to charge the iPhones, the iPads and the Macs with the help of one single cable. That is cutting down a lot of waste and surprisingly aligning with Apple's vision of turning carbon neutral by the year 2030. See, to be honest, we've heard these rumors a lot of times in the past, right? Ming-Chi Kuo himself has reported this rumor tons of time in the past, but this time we know it is going to be true because Apple has already converted majority of its devices into Type-C apart from the entry-level iPad, the iPhone and the AirPods. Which means it's not going to be that big of a transition, right? Over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see all of these devices being converted into a single port. And that, my friends, is going to be really exciting. But as a consumer, there's one thing I really fail to understand, that why Apple got to Lightning port in the first place. I mean, USB-C has been a pretty dominant technology. USB has been a pretty dominant technology, right? Since the beginning. And all the companies in the world have stuck to it. So why Lightning port came into existence, or why was it an active and integral part of the Apple ecosystem since such a long time? Now that right there is a very important topic of discussion. So for all of you Apple fanboys out there, you must know that Apple has patented the Lightning port technology. They own the patents to it, which means anyone and everyone using it in the world, Apple gets the royalty because it's their invention, it's their creation. Which was true till Thunderbolt 3. And I believe now it is universal. So now that revenue source is being cut, or there is some kind of arrangement out there. We have a nice blog for it. We've covered it on our website, iGeeksBlog. Or you can also check it out on our app, where this information is given in a better format, in a nicely written format, and the comparisons are done. So this is what the scenario is. Now, before this, the usual 30-pin connector used to cost 19 cents. But after the Thunderbolt technology was invented, it costed somewhere between $2.5 to $3, which is a huge increase, okay? If you talk about it, say, it might be a small number, but if you talk about it on a global level where millions and millions of gadgets are being sold, millions and millions of Apple products are being sold on a daily basis, this becomes a huge number. And that is why it became a sort of earning point for Apple, where they've been making tons of money with the help of this technology. And that is one of the most important reasons that Apple introduced Thunderbolt at first place. Another important reason that Apple has stuck to Thunderbolt over the years is faster data transfer. That is a very important source. Again, we've covered in the blog, so you guys can just go through it and have an understanding. But this port is helping in a super fast data transfer compared to the other ports, which is why it has become very important to have it there. Now, when you talk about having Thunderbolt in iPhone, water resistance also proves to be a very important part. Now, if you look at the iPhone, you can literally put it in a bucket of water or drop it in a pool and nothing would happen. The latest iPhones, right? Yes, the latest iPhones, like, they are waterproof, they are water resistant, they can stand up against water, right? And USB-C may or may not be able to give you that satisfaction of the water resistance initially, although this is Apple, so we may not know if it comes out to be true, and they do their Apple magic there and make it water resistant somehow. So these are the top 3 reasons why they had stuck to Thunderbolt for so long. However, now that you see a lot of devices are being universally adapted, because you're seeing a lot of devices have had Type-C ports now, it is high time that we'll be seeing it in the iPhone also in the near future. Now, a part of me also believes, now this may or may not be a theory, but this is what I have a strong feeling about, is that Apple always wanted this feeling of exclusivity, right? That is what they catered to their audience. That is what they created for their audience. And that is why Apple ecosystem is a known fact. We don't say Samsung ecosystem or Microsoft or Windows ecosystem, right? Apple ecosystem is a known fact. And that is why they wanted their invention, and probably Thunderbolt stuck throughout the years, apart from the obvious added benefits like, we've already talked about it. So this is also another reason which has been there. But over time, people have realized, and even maybe the company has realized, that it's high time to make it universally accessible. And then there are added advantages to it as well. This is why USB-C could be a really nice addition out there. In fact, see, another reason, like we discussed, and majority of the people out there believe that revenue or getting tons of money from Thunderbolt was one of the major reasons, apart from the data transfer and other reasons, that it was persistent in majority of the Apple products till date, or is still present in iPhones till date. But after the European Union legislation that is being created, Apple would be forced to have a universal cable. And if they don't do it, they wouldn't be able to sell their products in European Union, which means a major chunk of revenue would come out, right? Now, if you look at the Q1 reports, 2022 reports, iPhone 13 Pro Max and iPhone 13 were the top selling phones globally. Which means, imagine the sale that they have made, right? They were the leading smartphones out there. Now, you cannot have a frickin' European Union just out of the business because of one cable. Obviously, they'd be making these changes, and they'd be okay doing these changes because they don't want to lose the millions and millions of dollars worth of revenue that they're getting from European Union. So this is a primary concern where it's high time they have to do it, although it might take a couple of years more because they've just started testing the device, and we haven't really heard any rumors about iPhone 14 having Type-C, which means by 15, they would surely have Type-C integrated in the iPhones. Apple also has time to think about this step still, because the legislation is not passed yet, right? Now, if it passes in the parliament, so they have no choice but to do it. And they don't want to take any action like impromptu action, right? They need well-calculated steps, and that is how they've probably started testing the device. However, we'll have to wait for the legislation to actually pass in the parliament to be able to have an opinion on it. But as far as the data so far is concerned, majority of the people have voted in favor of it. So let's see how that turns out and what is the final outcome of it. Oh no, wait, there's a fun fact I need you guys to know. Thunderbolt was an invention of Intel and Apple together. It is a baby of Intel and Apple together. It wasn't like single-handedly developed by Apple. That is a really fun fact for you guys right there. Okay, but what would be the downsides of USB-C? They clearly invented a new technology, right? Now, the idea to invent a new technology, apart from the monetary factors, was faster data transfer, super fast battery charging, and a lot of other things like that, right? Which was very important for them to do it. Now, certain things you cannot achieve over Bluetooth. That is why you need a higher data transfer mechanism going on there. And Apple believed rather than working on the existing ones in the market, why not invent a new one? Because they are freaking Apple. And that is what they did. But now, when you switch to USB-C again, what would be the points that would have a problem in this case? Now, I believe the super fast power charging and the data transfer could probably be controlled, potentially be controlled with the help of USB-C as well. But as discussed, water resistance may have a stronger problem there. So Apple would need to probably fix that in order to serve the water resistance that they have been offering so far. Other than that, there wouldn't really be any other downside of switching into this. Yeah, of course, the existing products in the market, like completely changing the designs in the market, would be a concern. But to be very honest, you can't really predict which port is which, right? I mean, there is no visible difference as such. I have cables right here on the table. I can show you a visual demonstration of both the ports. For those of you who are listening to this episode, you might want to switch to YouTube and see it. Or you can just Google it. There is no visual difference. You cannot predict the differences between two different ports with the naked eye. Of course, there are the benefits that makes the difference and that matter, right? So I don't think design-wise also they'll have to do much. It's just a couple of things would be affected. Water resistance would be a primary thing that would be affected, and Apple would have to take some serious measures there to come up with a concrete solution to that. As discussed, after peer pressure from European Union, Apple is left with no other choice but to actually do this and take this step and see how it turns out for them, which is why I believe that yes, iPhone 15 is going to be the device that is going to have this. And then eventually they are going to go portless, right? I mean, we've all heard rumors about portless iPhones coming in the market, or portless Apple products coming in the market in the near future. Maybe transitioning to an AR/VR headset also, because if rumors are to be concerned, then we've also heard that the AR gadget that the company is developing might completely get rid of the iPhones that we have. So in a decade from now, we might even not have iPhones, which makes it a really political approach of Apple to change the port from Lightning to Type-C to be able to make this kind of difference. Because if in a decade from now, we're going to completely get rid of iPhones, and this is going to be a massive step. Imagine the pressure that the company faced that they actually had to take this step. But this is all the information we have for now. I mean, there are no renders as such of iPhone with Type-C ports or benefits and things like that. So we'll sadly have to wait for more rumors to come. But depending upon the rumor mongers, both Gurman and Ming-Chi Kuo have agreed that, this is a possibility, which gives us some ray of hope and a lot of other exciting things to look about and keep reading on this technology. What are your opinions about it? Do share with us in the comments. We'd love to hear back from you. And again, if you want to listen to an unedited, unfiltered version of this episode, then tune into the audio streaming platforms, because we have a lengthy discussion about this in the audio episode. Well, this is me, Harshanki, signing off. I'd probably come up next week with more exciting content, probably some interview, a celebrity out here, or some product testing. So why don't you stay tuned to the iGeeksBlog show, and I'll see you next week with more exciting content. Till then, stay safe, stay connected, and keep following iGeeksBlog.